This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10 in the NLT. Don't be afraid of what you are about to suffer. The devil will throw some of you into prison to test you. You will suffer for 10 days, but if you remain faithful even when facing death, I will give you the crown of life. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all your brethren, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the few Akwaf that listen and subscribe into this truth. Shalom to the elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there, shalom. I'm the brother Dama Gibar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahweh Shai. All right, because we know the time is coming to where some of the elect, will be cast into prison, ultimately for our testimony and our faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Some of us will be grabbed up and locked up for our, prophesying on the highways and the byways, for our street preaching, for ultimately standing on the business of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, for exposing the wickedness of this, for basically condemning this world, And some of us will be locked up and tried for treason because of our, speaking of the second coming of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shah HaMashiach and the coming destruction and the kingdom to come. But as we know, it's all going to be a test of our faith in Hamashiach Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We will be tested. We will be, tried to see if, what we've been out there prophesying and preaching, and if our faith in the Most High is truly honorable and truly faithful even unto death. And remember, this is a test from the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It really has nothing to do with Esau, has nothing really to do with, this world. It's really just the Most High, trying us as gold in the fire to see if we are truly worthy to be his, to have that seat at his table, to be, part of his governing body. Hey, and if we are part of the elect, we know that we will be successful, man. But, we can see things that are happening in the world that are getting ready to bring this prophecy to pass. And I found this article from Natural News, right? It says, federal government building 8 mega detention centers nationwide, a slippery slope to tyranny, you see? And we know, these, they're ultimately telling everybody, oh, this is for all of these immigrants, is for, we can grab up these, undocumented migrants, all of these so-called violent gang members and murderers and rapists and terrorists and, unsavory characters that crossed the border during the Biden administration that came here unvetted, unchecked, and they're a threat to national security, but we know ultimately it's way deeper than that. All right. We know that this is just the excuse they're using to be justified in building these detention centers, because we know ultimately they're getting ready to wage war on you American citizens. They know that, that this economic collapse is eventually going to come. They know that these mass layoffs, all of the doom and gloom that people are seeing the American economy and this American country is facing, these devils know that eventually there's going to be sedition, there's going to be riots. They know that people are going to eventually wake up to the corruption and all the bullshit of this government, and they're going to, take it to the streets. They're going to protest. They're going to riot. They're going to, there's going to be sedition. And, they're already setting the stage to where, when this happens, they're going to have all of these detention centers and all of these places set up so that they can throw the majority of these American citizens into these different detention centers, And we know that the prophets and the men of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai will eventually be approached. We will eventually be accused, will be blamed, and will be, part of the, the targets that need to be ultimately eliminated and disposed of pretty soon, man. So we know this is why they're building a lot of these detention centers. It's going to be for them to, wage war upon their own citizens here in Babylon the Great. But without further ado, let's read into some of this article. I got some precepts, and we're just going to, Lord willing, you be edified. So it says the Trump administration is mobilizing a staggering $38.3 billion to construct a nationwide network of 8 mega detention centers, a move that represents the most aggressive expansion of domestic detention capacity in American history. You see, here it is, right? Inflation is through the roof. People can't afford housing. The average American citizen is crumbling under the weight of inflation. The cost of living, homelessness is on the rise. Everything in this economy is spiraling out of control. The infrastructure is straight dog shit. Trump was promising the citizens $2,000 stimulus checks. People are losing jobs. Massive layoffs is happening. Shit, you even got UPS trying to buy out its truck drivers. With $30,000 to retire early, but but there's no help for the American citizens. There's no help for the struggling American people. But meanwhile, they got $38.3 billion to construct 8 mega detention centers. So this shows you, that this government don't give a fuck about you American people and this struggling economy and this failing ecosystem of America. Because ultimately, these elites have decided a long time ago that this corporation, America, is finished. They're going to let it go bankrupt. They're going to let it crumble and fall. And you American people are going to fall right along with it. But meanwhile, they're putting money in where it really matters the most, which is in these detention centers and basically, setting themselves up to bring in this NWO. It says this plan, detailed in the internal ICE memorandum, aims to create facilities capable of holding up to 92,000 individuals to accelerate the deportation of illegal aliens with final removal orders, which we know a lot of that is bullshit. That's just the what they're telling you these facilities are used for. But I've heard Trump out of his own mouth saying that that he would like to deport American citizens. A lot of these American citizens who don't, basically, foam at the mouth and clap like seals and, go along with everything that he does does with his administration. And, American citizens who have violent criminal backgrounds, who are repeat criminals, he would love to deport them and get them out of this country. You see? So what better way to do that than with these different detention centers, And we know that eventually the Insurrection Act will be passed, martial law will be here in America, because eventually these people are going to rise up and go ape shit, eventually, especially these so-called red-blooded Americans, a lot of these MAGAs, as these so-called white people in the middle class seeing themselves being totally reduced to so-called the status of so-called Negroes in this country, when that white privilege runs out and they see themselves, as basically, just forgotten and left here to rot in this society, they're gonna eventually go crazy, and they're gonna rise up and they're gonna protest, and it's gonna be all hell breaking loose here pretty soon. Okay. What else is in here? It says let me see. Yep, it says but for the truth seeking beyond the sanitized government language of efficiency and standardization, this initiative reveals a terrifying precedent. The federal government is building a permanent, scalable infrastructure for mass detention. Once this machinery is built and the current target population is processed, a critical question emerges that the political class refuses to address. What or who is next? Yeah, who's going to be next? The American citizens. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and eventually the prophets, the servants of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. You see? And this is Isaiah chapter 29 and 20. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Because at the end of the day, the only thing Esau has left in his corner is the sword, and to go to war, and to use, brute force to try to keep himself afloat. Because like I said, the cat is out of the bag. This man is being exposed. The Epstein file is showing how just corrupt this whole society and this government truly is, man. And all of these politicians, these major players, these financiers, these, presidents, vice presidents, governors, mayors, financiers, these athletes, these entertainers are all now being seen as, being seen for the demons that they truly are. And just how all of this Satanism and occultism runs this society. You see? So the only thing he really has left is to blame, is to categorize, and to eventually, come down with that great wrath, as the Bible says he will. It says that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of not. You see, and that's who's going to be next. A lot of these whistleblowers, a lot of these American citizens that ain't buying the bullshit, the prophets, the true men of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Because our testimony and what we're out there preaching is a issue and a problem to his agenda. And this is why, he's allowing people to, go on all these different social media platforms. He's allowing pretty much everybody to say what they have to say. And eventually, he's going to, use these videos and these different, platforms to basically to make anybody that's speaking out, anybody that's exposing the bullshit, anybody that's, outing the wickedness as an offender, as a terrorist, as a person of suspicion, as a domestic T, as a traitor. And eventually, they'll put laws in place to where they're going to be able to come at us and get us and use our words to, to find us guilty on whatever trumped up charges they want to put upon us, and eventually cause us to be thrown into one of these detention centers, man. All right, we see it as plain as day. All right, we're not ignorant to Satan devices. We see through all the bullshit. We know the ultimate goal of what these detention centers are really for, and it's more than just so-called migrants and undocumented citizens, man. It says history teaches that when a government erects the architecture for a mass incarceration, that power is never rolled back voluntarily. The newly erected totalitarian government simply finds new targets. And who's going to be the targets? The prophets, the whistleblowers, Remember, this is why this devil has AI, scrolling, doing all the things that it's doing, because it's gathering all this data, all this information. It's basically getting, he's using AI and his technology to basically get all of the information on each and every individual that's using the internet, what you're putting on X, what you're posting on Twitter, or whatever it's called, your social media videos, the things that you look at, your opinions, your thoughts, how you feel about particular things, and all that information is being gathered and stored in the database so this man can use AI to build a profile against each and every individual, man. And how much more the prophets and the servants of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You see? It says, today's illegal alien could easily become tomorrow's domestic extremist, anti-vaxxer, climate change denier, or any citizen deemed undesirable by the ruling regime, you see? And this is what this shit is really all about, man. Like I just quoted, this is why you can't be ignorant of Satan's devices, man. We see what this man is. We know what he's up to, all right? It's the same game plan. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11 in the NLT. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. You see, and we know how this man operates. We know ultimately the greater agenda of all of these detention centers and what they're ultimately going to be used for, man. You see? What else is in here? Check this out. It says a quantum leap in detention from processing to industrial scale incarceration. It says, forget the crowded, outdated facilities of the past. The blueprint described in the February 13 memo marked for official use only as something entirely different. Standardized factory-like complexes built for scale and speed. These are not mere holding cells. They are designed as full-service containment cities, complete with courtrooms, law libraries, medical clinics, and religious spaces. Why? Because, hey, a lot of these places, you're going to meet judge, jury, and executioner. And a lot of these detention centers, you're going to be brought to trial. You're not going to have the right to a lawyer. They're just going to bring you before the judge. They're going to read whatever charges they have upon you, and they're going to, find you guilty right there on the spot. You're not going to be able to defend yourself. You're not going to have a lawyer. You're not going to have the right to due process. You're going to just be grabbed in these things, and whatever charges they're slapping on you are going to stick. And, and they're going to judge you there, whether it's going to be for you to get your head put in the guillotine, which we know some of the prophets and the men of the Lord will have to face, or they're going to tell you to, deny whatever you believe. And if you truly believe in this world, in this new world order, you're going to receive your micro C-hip. Scriptures tell you that, in the book of Ezra. Those that consent unto them shall be had in derision. You shall be, offered things unto idols, man. You see? You don't think they're going to be doing all these things in these facilities? You better wake up, man. This shit is a lot more deeper than what it looks like. It says they are designed as full-service containment cities, complete with courtrooms, law libraries, medical clinics, and religious spaces. What do you think those medical clinics are going to be used for? To put that microchip up in your ass, man? Or to process bodies. Oh, and I was reading another article the other day where now a lot of these ICE facilities they're putting incinerators inside of those things. And what the hell you think that's going to be for? Because they're not going to just have these bodies stacked up in these different facilities. They're going to have to get rid of those bodies, man. There's not going to be, they're not going to be calling the morgue day in and day out to get these bodies to have burials. They're just going to incinerate them to just get rid of it, So, hey, man, this shit is very real, and these times are coming. It says the larger mega centers are intended to hold people for up to 60 days as removal hubs, while smaller regional processing centers will act as week-long staging centers. Did I just read that? All right, you shall have tribulation 10 days. You see? You shall have tribulation 10 days. You see? And they're going to hold a lot of you in these facilities, to do, the things that they're going to do. You see? It's as clear as day. What else is in there? Look at this. It says, ICE Director Todd Lyons testified that the target population is 1.6 million people with fine deportation orders, nearly half of whom have criminal convictions. To handle this volume, the plan calls for 12,000 new enforcement officers and a complete overhaul of detention logistics. This isn't just policy tweaking, it's the construction of a domestic deportation industrial complex ready to be switched on at full throttle. You see, they're getting ready to wage war on you American people, man. And it's not just going to be for these deportations of so-called illegals. It's going to eventually, roll over onto you American citizens, you undesirables, you whistleblowers, you truthers, the prophet servants of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you so-called Christians, you Muslims, all of you American citizens deemed enemy of the powers that be. It says, when you build cages on this scale, you don't build them to sit empty. The very existence of this infrastructure creates a bureaucratic and economic imperative to fill it. And we know these elites want to fill it with, because they hate you useless eaters as they deem you, man. All right, what else is in here? Check this out. It says, as the location of these mega centers leak out, a pattern of local outrage and federal dismissal is emerging. In Hutchinson, Texas, where a facility for 9,500 is planned, Mayor Maria Vasquez bluntly stated the project offers no benefit to it whatsoever. In San Antonio, council members lament their lack of authority. They don't have to comply with city zoning regulations or anything like that. So again, the city doesn't have any power at all to dictate what the property can or can't be used for, said District 10 Councilman Mark Wright. And what is that? Isaiah 10. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. You see? So that what? So that, let me get that real fast, man. You see, so now a lot of these states, they can't even stop them from building these ICE facilities because they don't have the power or the authority to stop it. So these devils are doing whatever the hell they want to do. This is Isaiah 10:1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. You see, so this is already in the works. They knew exactly, when they wanted to build these facilities, that they was going to have immunity. And, there was going to be no state or local powers that could stop them from building them, man. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people. Right. That's why in these detention centers, they're already going to have courtrooms and judges in there. Like I said, you're not going to have a free trial. You're not going to go in there to defend yourself. I don't need to speak to my lawyer. You ain't going to get no lawyer in there. All right. They're going to trump you up on those charges, and all those charges are going to stick. And ain't going to be nothing you could do about it. Whatever they decide that's your fate. You see, this is why we're going to need divine intervention. This is why, we read about the time of Acts, how the apostles were broken out of that prison that they were wrongly jailed in. They were delivered out of it by angels. So we have to have that same faith and that same hope that these things, that same belief that, hey, the things that happened to the apostles could very well happen to us. It's in the scriptures. It's not impossible. You see? It says that widows may be their prey and that they may rob their fatherless, you see? And once you win these detention centers, you are going to be a prey. You're going to be at the mercy of these wicked court systems, man. It says they don't have to comply with city zoning regulations or anything like that. So again, the city doesn't have any power at all to dictate what the property can or can't be used for. It says this is the raw exercise of federal power, steamrolling local will and community concerns. The government memo coldly prioritizes continuity, safety, compliance, and control built to scale. Control is the operative word. This is about constructing a system that operates outside the traditional checks of local governance, a monolithic structure answering only to its federal masters. You see, so this is why when you're locked in these prisons, they'll be able to do summary executions. They can put your head in the guillotine. Like I said, you're not going to have the right to due process. That's not going to exist anymore inside of those facilities because they're going to operate as their own government, as their own, entity. You're not going to have no constitutional rights. You're not going to have any freedoms, man. See, this is pure hell, pure demonic activity. It says the message to American communities is clear. You will host these facilities, you will bear the consequences, and if you have no say in the matter, if ICE agents can shoot people in the face in the streets of many and get away with it, then what other abuses will take place at this scale? Behind closed doors. Well, I'm going to show you what type of place is going to take place. This is Revelations 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. You see? So this is why he's going to move in the way that he's going to move, man. It's not going to be no due process. This man's not going to be operating under the law. Here it is. This man has international law all over the place that he constantly violates and doesn't adhere to. How much more when he's coming down with that great wrath and all hell is breaking loose and it's the Insurrection Act and martial law? What type of it ain't gonna be it's gonna be the law of the jungle. It's gonna be the law of brute force, man. And you people are not gonna have any rights or any say so in the matter. All right, for this word is wrath is thymos. It says anger, heat, forthwith boiling up and soon subsiding again. Glow, ardor, the wine of passion, inflaming, blah, 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 blah. It says either drives the drinker mad or kills him with his string. Right, and he's going to be mad with anger and indignation. Especially when he sees his time is short, when he sees that people are rising up and they're protesting and his sorcery, his witchcraft, his lies, his media, ain't none of that shit working anymore. He's going to have no choice but to come down with great wrath, you see? Because that's going to be the only way he's going to be able to establish himself. It's going to be with the sword and with great wrath, man. See, like I said in the video the other day, hey, the slogan of the New World Order is to expect no mercy. It says the construction of these 8 mega detention centers is about far more than immigration enforcement. It's about normalizing the concept of mass civil detention on American soil. They are sold today as a solution for illegal aliens, but the foundation architecture does not care about the label of its occupants. Once operational, this network represents a permanent and easily adaptable tool for any administration that wishes to detain large groups of people, which is total control. You see? It says, as dissenting voices are increasingly branded as threats to national security, how long before this very infrastructure is justified for a new emergency? The power to surveil, to separate, and to incarcerate en masse is the power of a police state. The $38.3 billion investment isn't just building deportation hubs, it's laying the physical foundation for a future where the government has ready-made capacity to silence its opponents. The factories are being built. The only thing left to decide is who will they process next. And we know who it's going to be. You American citizens. The prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Which I'm not going to get all of the prophets. Not going to get all of the elect. But we know that some of us will be cast into prison. We know that these detention centers are linking up with what prophecy says will happen in these last days. And we know a lot of it is going to be used to round up and to get you American citizens, man. A lot of you undesirables. A lot of, just to get rid of the majority of you useless eaters, as these devils like to call you American citizens, man. And we can see, hey, this thing is moving quickly, and these devils already got this shit in place. And like I said, none of these states or wherever these things are being built, they have no say-so in the matter, man. And nothing you can do but just obey, get out of the way, and allow this tyranny, this this man coming down with great wrath take place. But hey, We know that Yahweh Shem Yahushua will be on the side of the elect. And we know ultimately if we are in these facilities or we do get grabbed up, it's just a test and the trial of our faith. And we pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushua that he give us the spirit and the, the spirit needed to endure and to be, found faithful even unto death and to resist at all, his advances and ultimately his MOTB if it is presented. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. All praise and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And to the next one, shalom.